Hi, everyone, and welcome to our chat about the future. We're going to spend today talking about not just the rest of 2021, but hopefully well beyond, and the new program features and plans we have in place, and hopefully how you can be a part of those and help influence them. Okay, we'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. The chat is being recorded. If you would like to see it or re-see something or take a look at one of our previous chats, those are available on our website and on YouTube. You can access them directly either on our YouTube channel or just by going to friendlywater.org/events, and you'll be able to see a list of all the chats we've done and take a look at those. Request that folks mute their microphones when they're not talking. Otherwise, feel free to jump in at any time and ask questions or share ideas or anything you like. You can always type something in the chat. If you go to the little chat button at the bottom of your Zoom window, you can always just type something in there. And if you have anything you'd like to add afterwards or in between, you're welcome to send me an email. I'm will@friendlywaterfortheworld. As you know, as anybody knows that who's been attending our chats for the last 6 months, we usually start with 5 things you should know about Friendly Water for the World. I'm actually going to talk more about this during my section later in the chat, but we provide expertise in village-based clean water technologies. We build knowledge and resilience. We activate community engagement. We embrace the dignity, strengths, and rights of all people, and we stand with the vulnerable. Those pillars motivate all of our work. So program today, we had, the last time we did a kind of extended event was our fall fundraiser, and we went quite a bit over. For anyone who attended that probably remembers we were very much over for that event. So this is going to be nice and tight day. We're scheduled for 90 minutes and we will get done at 1:30 Pacific time. I'll make sure of that. Here's our program. It'll start off by me doing some introductions, and then Curt will come on to talk about the state of our current program, and then we have the following speakers. So should be really informative, fairly fast-paced, but we've got lots to share. Our program has undergone a lot of changes over the last 18 to 24 months, and we're really excited to see those come into action actually in the field. So and see how that's all going to work. So lots to cover. I am going to, as part of my introductions, I'm going to hopefully share a separate set of introductions from folks who are, here we go, make sure I do this right, and share the sound, which is the one part I always forget to do, and here. All right, and hopefully this, if anybody can't hear this, please let me know.
Mimi naitwa Margaret Wafula, natoka Masaha, na mimi na Friendly Water tuna uhusiano wa karibu. Mimi ni MDG, Organizing Secretary kwa group ya MDG. Tunatengeneza sabuni pamoja na Friendly Water. Umuhimu wa maji kwetu ama kwangu ni kwamba inazuia magonjwa, alafu inafanya vitu zote zinakuwa safi tukiosha na maji safi, na pia inafanya tunakaa katika area ambayo iko safi.
Hello friends, this is Benjamin Christie from Lucknow, Northern India, and I am based in the state of Uttar Pradesh, which is a home to 220 million people. 4 years ago, I came to know about Friendly Water, and they gave me training on clean water technology. Since then, I've been working with Friendly Water, and we have done a couple of trainings. Recently, last month, we completed training giving clean water technology training to 34 people from northern India. And what water means to me, water to me is the life, and if there is no water, there is no life. And so we are providing clean water to the people, and so we are giving a better life to the people and hope for the life.
Hi, I am Lidwin from India. I live in the southernmost district of India called Kanyakumari. I am a partner with the Friendly Water for the World from 2017. I am a trainer and a South India representative for Friendly Water. I have trained 138 members, and 48 member groups are very active, and most of them are working with the Dalit and Adivasis, the marginalized and disadvantaged communities.
I do some work for Friendly Water for the World. I work with the community in Mwanza East, in Chief Mwanza, called Chinzila. The community had problems with contaminated water from the borehole. Many villagers had diarrheal diseases. But since the time the Friendly Water project started of water filters, the village has appreciated the diarrheal diseases have reduced drastically. The first time I went there in September last year, I think the number of people who had diarrheal disease are 2 or 3. But this time when we went in April, there was nothing. So the people have really appreciated, and they are so thankful to what the Friendly Water for the World is doing.
I am Inamul Hassan, country coordinator for India with Friendly Water for the World. We are working across the nation on spreading the message as well as creating an awareness on the usage of clean drinking water. We are working with all sort of marginalized section in this nation. For me, having a clean water means the family is living a happy life. The family is having a sufficient life, a satisfied life.
Call me Gondo. I'm a Kenyan. I hail from Lugari. I work with TCSC in our office in Matsava. And with Friendly Water, we are grateful that we partner with them. We work with them. We work with several technologies. And one of the technologies that we are currently implementing is the soap making. And we are very grateful for that. I participate in that as a trainer. I train people on how to make soap. And currently, we are waiting to start the ISSB technology. That's the brick making technology, which is soon commencing.
Hello, my name is Ajmat from MP and India. हम फ्रेंडली वाटर फॉर वर्ल्ड के साथ मिलकर 2 तरीके के काम यहाँ करते हैं. एक है वाटर बैंक, देन टाका, दूसरा है बायोसैंड वाटर फिल्टर. टाका जो है वाटर बैंक, वो इसलिए क्योंकि यहाँ जो समुदाय है जहाँ हम काम करते हैं, उसके बीच में ही पानी की समस्या काफ़ी होती है साल में खास करके अप्रैल, मई, जून, जुलाई, ऐसे 3-4 महीने जब तक बारिश नहीं होती है, तब तक उनको पानी लेने के लिए 3-4 किलोमीटर पैदल जाना पड़ता है. और उनके लिए कम से कम उनको 5-6 घंटे सिर्फ पीने और खाना बनाने के पानी के लिए लाने में उनके जाते हैं, और पूरा घर परिवार उसी पानी के लिए लग जाता है।
My name is Agetria Giza. I'm the Executive Director of Transforming Community for Social Change. We work with Friendly Water as a partner organization to support improve the lives of our community in Masaha location, whereby they are struggling on issues of water resources, hygiene, and nutrition. What we work with them is we've started doing a soap making project, which is doing so well, and they're focusing on also learning other techniques and teaching them to the community, young people, so that they can have a life of their own with something to do in their hands.
There we go. That's better. I made a very funny joke, so I won't try that again. But that's just a little taste of our partners from around the world. If you are interested in translating Hindi or Swahili for me, please give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Otherwise, it's really great to be able to see our partners and hear from them. And several of them have joined our call today, and hopefully others will be able to join later. So those are introductions. I'd like to turn it over to Curt and Dino, our esteemed executive director, and he's going to share kind of the current state of the program and what the rest of the year looks like for Friendly Water for the World.
Thanks, Will. I quickly want to kind of do a bit of a intro as to how we actually get to what we're working on now, and why our programming is a little bit different. So it's I took some notes, so hopefully I will get through this in a timely fashion. Our primary goal is to provide something of basic utility to people who are challenged by its absence. That's a simple way to say it, and we do this because we can. So if you have no clean water, we have a 30-year filter. If you have no water, we have a 20,000 liter rainwater catchment tank. No sanitation, composting toilet. You've got bad indoor air, we've got a smart hearth. We find that people who have reliable access to these necessities do better. And like most of us, when someone does better, so does the person next to you and the person next to them. And by better, we mean physically, developmentally, emotionally, all of the other attributes that come with a good state of health. So all of our programs are designed specifically for each partner community, so that each is a little bit different. That's why I'm going over this. And that's because the community we work with ultimately decides what the program looks like. And I say this because not everyone necessarily needs all of our technologies. We discovered this, what the challenges are in the communities during our 5-step process. And altogether, it's called community investment. But the 5 steps are survey. We go in and we do a social mapping, basically social and health mapping, followed by engagement, which is going to be talked about more, I believe, which is a 5-day process. Then planning, which is fairly lengthy as to making sure that what we do sticks and is sustainable. Then the actual training, and then we optimize it. And this process is iterative, and it's ongoing, and it's supposed to always be reproducing itself and changing as the community's needs change. And with that in mind, and that's my disclaimer, the first program I want to talk about is in Kambiri, which is a town in Western Kenya. And what's happening in Kambiri is we're refining currently the production of straight compressed earth bricks for sale, and the production of curved compressed earth bricks for the construction of rainwater catchment tanks. And the first tanks go into local schools. And then we'll see if they can get into the contracted labor workforce market via subsidy or direct sale. And this is so it's both a social enterprise as well as a means of securing a scarce resource. And thus far, just in Cambiri, we've made about 6,000 bricks. And by we, I do not mean me, but I mean Eric and his staff. So we've made 1,000 bricks. We've made 6,000 bricks. We've sold 1,000. We've put 1,000 into a rainwater catchment tank we just finished. We have 3,000 more that are set aside for rainwater catchment tanks, and that leaves us with only 1,000 to spare. So far, the use of these bricks is becoming apparent, and their utility is being put to use. Our administrative headquarters, the Kakamega Water Technology Center, headed by our programs manager Eric, is also in Cambiri, and this is really key. It's his direct oversight is a critical aspect of any successes that we're having. He has a team there, but his team is not only trained to make bricks and sell bricks and build rainwater catchment tanks, they can also train others in these same skills, which is what they'll be doing at our next site, which is 26 kilometers from Cambiri, called Matsaha. And we've been working in Matsaha since October of 2020. We completed our community engagement process in the middle of that month in partnership with Transforming Community for Social Change, TCSC, and you saw Getri Yagiza introduce herself a little while ago, as well as Ezra Jagodu. He's the two of them together are really the brains and the affect behind TCSC, together TCSC and Friendly Water worked with the local community, and we created a village-run corporation called the Masaha Development Group, with whom we both walk alongside. And as Ezra had mentioned, we completed our first technology training in January, which was multi-purpose soap production. It's interesting to note that the community chose multi-purpose soap production to address a lack of hygiene products amidst a rising rate of COVID infections, and a government mandate to reopen the schools. So that wasn't our idea, that was their idea. And it was their idea because they're the people who are being affected by this. So who better to know what the challenges are? That said, there's still numerous steps to be taken to get the soap into schools. We're about halfway through the process, but it has to be done right to be long-term effective. And we want to have ongoing multi-year contracts in order to get the soap always into schools and also distributed at the marketplace. And it has to undergo a process of testing and permits being received and certificates being issued. But throughout all that, the Masaha Development Group is currently producing about 500 liters of soap per month. And part of this is a subsidized distribution to the poor, as well as a publicly sold good. Third program, not yet underway, and our start is being hampered by COVID. This program is in Uganda near Mount Elgon. Our participation there will also be managed by Eric, but we have yet to go in there to get our community engagement done. The survey was done a number of months ago, but we have to get the community engagement done, hopefully sooner than later. This location is about 130 kilometers away from our hub in Cambiri. And that's about as far as we want to actually go to extend ourselves from the center of our organization out into the field. And actually, the only reason we can even get out that far is due to the wonderful gift received from 3 donor households: Kathleen O'Shaughnessy, Mary and Greg Saltis, Mary Ellen and Greg Saltis, and an anonymous donor household who purchased a Toyota van for the Cambiri Water Technology Center, and that's how Eric is able to get around so effectively now. Also notably, all three of these programs have support from different Rotary clubs. We also have a hub that we're hoping to have built in Manze in Zambia, down in Southern Africa. Last year, right before COVID, we finished our last set of trainings in Manze before hunkering down, and it was clearly a success. The reason it was a success, and the only reason it was a success, is because of the graciously extended partnership and hospitality we have received from 2 groups The Friends of Monze from Bridgeland, Wales, and the local community-based organization they support in Monze, the Zambia Women and Girls Foundation. So far, a 3-classroom school was built with our compressed bricks, as were 2 teachers' houses. 6 rainwater catchment tanks have been built, 4 as privately financed sales. And importantly, in September of 2020, 30 biosand filters were delivered and installed in a nearby village called Chinzilla. And the request to install these filters came from the Ministry of Health. And we conduct surveys every 60 days, starting with the baseline. And so far, one of our survey questions that called the days spent at home with a stomach illness category has dropped by 400%. So that's a fairly staggering success. And the fact that that line is now, the trend line is now being maintained also speaks to a success. But mostly what speaks to success is that we have now been invited to 4 other villages nearby Chinzilla to start our partnership process. And I think we have, if Heather is still on the line here, so she's probably listening. We have a long planned project we want to undertake in Simwatachela, which is a group of 13 sub-villages about 75 kilometers off the main road down by Choma. And it's about 65 kilometers equidistant from Lake Kariba on one side and Livingston on the other. And so it's really out there. We've been terribly hampered by COVID. We've been sitting on their survey for over a year, which is so disappointing to us. And I can't imagine how disappointing it is to the people in that community. But we can't get there until we can safely travel. At this point, we're actually looking at a workaround, like potentially using staff that already exists in Zambia at the Zambia Women and Girls Foundation to potentially do our community engagement process if we can't get there. All of these programs that I've mentioned thus far, we have an expected partnership timeframe, probably a minimum of 5 years. And then probably really looking at somewhere between 7.5 and 10 years that we would like to work directly with these communities. Finally, we've recommitted ourselves to our work in India. And I know that this is something that's been on a lot of our supporters' minds. In a country that's the same size as East Africa, but with 3 times the population, the challenges are overwhelming and literally everywhere you look. But we can't be everywhere. So as our first step to creating an effective response to these challenges, we're connecting our in-country partners with each other in a very deliberate and systematic process. And as I say, and not at all fun. It's very chewy and it's going to take time and it has to be done correctly. But if you're going to make it work, this is how it has to happen. And that's a huge chunk of our job, is doing a lot of these sausage factory type things that allow us in the future to actually produce the work that you hear about. But for now, they'll be debriefing each other, hopefully looking at best practices, breaking down failures alongside successes, to find out how we can get this work done better. We've actually started with our friend Benjamin Christie, who gave his introduction here just a few minutes ago, and he's from Uttar Pradesh, up in northeasternish India, and he'll be meeting, David's like, maybe North India. But north, you're heading north and then you head a little bit east. And simply because of proximity, he's right next to another friend of ours, Bandama Sharma, who's in Muzaffarpur in Bihar, which is the neighboring state. So they'll be meeting to get this process rolling next month. And our goal is to have at least 2 community partnerships established by this fall, one in northern and one in southern India. So we've got a number of programs underway, each designed for their own particular community, that are focused on providing some combination of water security, water quality, social enterprise opportunities, and community hygiene, with the end goal of creating an opportunity for people to be able to live healthy lives and plan for the future. Today, we're hoping that you, our supporters, can help us extend the work coming out of the Kakamega Water Center in both Kamberi and Masaka. Our goal of this very small group is to raise $20,000. And that's quite a heavy lift for us, but it's something that we're going to be running for a while. And this is just the first day. At this point, I'd like to stop yammering, and I believe that Joanne Dufour has her digital hand up. But either Joanne or anybody else who has a question, please holler. Joanne, you're on mute.
I just wanted to applaud you for all this. It's just a pleasure, and I'm sorry that I was late.
You are forgiven, and thank you for your very kind words.
Any other questions for Curt while we have his direct attention? I do want to say, and thanks Curt for pointing out, that we are starting a fundraising push right at the Zoom right now. We'll probably talk about this more in future Zooms. If you're looking for ways to give to us, you can always go right to our website, friendlywater.org. There's a big donate button right in the top right corner, and you can also use the website to learn more about what we're doing. It's really our primary vehicle for sharing information. And if you're prefer to be on your phone and you're mobile savvy, you can always text friendly water. It doesn't have to be all caps, but you can text friendly water to 44-321, and that's another really simple way to give. So thank you, Curt, very much. The next speaker that we're going to have, and before, actually, I'll talk after I introduce them. The next speaker I will have is Eric Lajodi, and Heather. Heather, would you? Yeah, Heather, you're welcome to say a few words if you'd like to. I'm going to give a special dispensation to Heather Cumming, who's calling us from somewhere very remote, even more remote than I am in Tampa, and she's way out in somewhere very far away. So Heather, if you can hear me, are you welcome to say a few words?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, good. That's good. No, 2 seconds. I just wanted to tell Curt, don't worry about time, at least with Simwatachella, because that's one of the only good things about COVID is that everything is so slow and behind time in our community anyway, that it's like, you'll get there. Don't worry. The people are just waiting patiently. So it's just time is on such a different scale over here. So I just wanted to reassure you that it's all fine, and don't stress about Simwatachella. Save your stress for your other projects. Will, I just wanted to say that.
Right.
I'm done.
Okay, thanks, Heather. Really appreciate it. And thanks for joining us. The forces of nature are not able to stop you, so I'm very impressed. I would like to introduce Eric Lajodi, our programs manager in Africa. Give him a second to get his video running. I believe he's almost on lockdown right now. Kenya is dealing with a pretty severe third wave of COVID, and I know Eric is doing his best to take care of himself and his family and friends, which is our main priority, is his safety and the folks around him right now. So, but he is, we're lucky to have him joining us tonight, and hopefully, I'm not sure, Eric, if you're going to start your video or not, but you're welcome to start talking.
Yeah, thank you, Will. And the way I indicated from the beginning, I may not be using my video for the time being because my internet is actually fluctuating. And I want also to thank Curt for those very powerful opening remarks. And I want to thank also everyone who is on this particular forum. I know your participation in this discussion is very key and very important for us. For us, we do the talking, but for you folks over there, you make sure that we actualize what we are talking about. through the funding that you give to us, and we really appreciate for the work that you're doing over there. I want to talk briefly on community engagement process. And before I talk on community engagement process, we are all aware that we are living under very extraordinary times because of the COVID-19. COVID-19 has really affected the progress of the work we are doing, and we are taking precautions to make sure that as much as we are keeping ourselves safe, we are keeping also the communities that we are working in safe. When I'm talking about the community engagement process, I'll try to look at it under 4 perspectives. Number one, I'll be trying to define briefly what a community engagement process is. Then I'll be looking at the importance of the community engagement process. Then I'll be looking at the steps that we take when we want to do any particular community engagement process. Community engagement seeks to better engage the community to achieve long-term and sustainable outcomes, build relationships, involve the community in decision-making and implementation. Community engagement is the process of working collaboratively with and through groups of people affiliated by geographical proximity, special interest, or similar situation to address issues affecting the well-being of those people. It is a very powerful tool for bringing about environmental and behavioral changes that will improve the health of the community and its members. It is therefore a strategic process with the specific purpose of working with identified groups of people. This is a tool that we are using at Friendly Water, and is a very important tool that we have tried in the areas that we are working with, and is proving to be a very important tool when it comes to implementation of the programs that we are doing. The key concept of the engagement process, why we are doing this, we've discovered that when we do a community engagement process, there is increase in the likelihood of the projects that we are doing to have solutions that will be accepted, because these are the solutions to the problems within the communities come from the people themselves within the community. So there's a higher level degree of commitment from members of any community to help the project happen. Then number 2, the community engagement process also helps us create solutions that are practical and effective. They are practical and effective in the sense that we engage the people of a particular community, addressing the issues that are in this particular community, looking for solutions in this particular community. So you find that the end result is whatever we come up with is always very practical and very effective. It also improves the community's knowledge skills in problem solving, because there are issues within communities that we may not be understanding. But when we bring these people together through the community engagement process, then people within a particular community are able to find out solutions to problems that are within any particular community. And then we have circumstances whereby initially the organizations that when they go in the community, they tend to overlook the people who stay in any particular community. For our case, these people are very key for us. So when you're doing the community engagement process, you'll find that the group that feels ignored can gain greater control over their lives and their community. They feel that we are identifying them, we are appreciating their value within this particular community. So they feel that they have control over their lives and also over their community. Also, community engagement process helps us to create networks within the community members. When we are doing the community engagement process, we have a variety of people from any particular community coming together. So we have actually a network of people coming from any particular community to collaborate together and work together for the progress of any particular community. Also, it creates an opportunity for people to come together and discuss the various concerns that are coming from any particular community and how to address those concerns. So this is a very key tool that is very important for any given community. There are steps that we always undertake when we want to do a community engagement process. The first community engagement process in Kenya, as in that photo, we did it in Matsaha. We did it with a team in Matsaha, and it entailed an entire team from the whole sublocation, whereby we had participation of people from the entire Matsaha sublocation attending our first effective community engagement process. But you'll find that before we move to any particular community to carry out the community engagement process, we identify the community itself, the community that we are supposed to carry the community engagement process out. We identify that particular community. Then after identifying that particular community, we do a community survey. A community survey just helps us to understand an overview of how that particular community is set up. We look at the health facilities, the schools, the road network, the markets that are within that particular community, the water sources, the toilets, and anything that may be of any value of us. We get that information when we do the initial community survey in that particular community. Then we also try to identify any existing organization that may be in that community that we can collaborate with to carry out an effective community engagement process. And for this case, like in Kenya, we identified an organization known as Transforming Community for Social Change that we connected to carry out an effective community engagement process in Matsaha. Through the existing organizations that are in a particular community, we are able also to find out whether those organizations that are already existing on the ground, whether they can also be of value when it comes to identifying facilitators for the community engagement process. Once we have identified that particular community, we have collaborated with the existing local NGO that is on the ground. We now identify the people who are supposed to attend the community engagement process. And in this case, we carry it for 3 days. The first day we bring in has got a larger number of people, whereby we have a cross-section of the people from any particular community coming to attend our engagement process. It will involve the local leadership that is within any particular community, the ordinary members of that particular community. They come together so that we address the issues that are within that particular community. You'll find that when we are doing the community engagement process, one of the key factors that when we are doing this, what we find out, we find out that there are assets also within this community. And when you mention about the assets may be in form of tools, time, reputation, knowledge, space. Some communities may even be in a position to be able to fund themselves, specialization, and even availability. There are different levels of people within any particular community, and we bring everyone who is within this particular community. We engage them in a discussion through a process called appreciative inquiry to try to recognize the best that is in us. And then when you mentioned about inquiry, we ask questions that help us actually to get to understand how the community setup is better. Once we are done with that, the first day has got more people. Like in Matsaha, on the first day we had people coming up to the number was almost 100, but on the second day it was trimmed towards half of the number on the first day. Then on the third day we had now a lesser number people who actually later paths forward for what they intend to do within Matsaha. After the effective community engagement process, there's the issue of the planning and the sustainability. And you will find that once we've done a community engagement process, it is the community that decides what we are supposed to do in that particular community. Now, implementation of our projects and programs does not come from us. We hear it from the people themselves once we've done an effective community engagement process, because we don't want ourselves to be an organization that is taking programs to people, programs that people are not ready to take up. But once we do the community engagement process, the people within the community tell us their desires, tell us where they want us to begin from. And this actually happened in Matsaha. After we've done the planning, then we come to the actualization of the projects that we are doing, the training, and then we proceed with what we did in Matsaha. After we done the community engagement process, another group was also formed within the Matsaha itself, what we call Matsaha Development Group. And this is the team that started actually making the soap. They're in the second stage of being trained on the interlocking soil stabilized bricks. The process is just being slowed down because of the COVID-19, but we are hoping that once things improve, we'll be doing the interlocking bricks. And then after the interlocking bricks, we'll be doing the rainwater catchments. We're in the process of implementing the same community engagement process in other areas. We are partnering with a team from Uganda, rather Pukobero. I had intended actually to travel to Uganda over this weekend, but looking at the trend, the way things are evolving because of COVID-19, we decided that it was not actually safe for my travel, and it was not also safe for the people over in Pukobero. So we suspended that travel until when maybe we shall have normalized because of the COVID-19. We are in discussion with our team in Monse, Zambia, about doing a community engagement process over there in Monse. And we are in discussion with the team to see that we carry out a very effective community engagement process in Monse. We are also in discussion with Heather Cumming of doing a community engagement process in Sumatachela. And we are hoping that once things will normalize, we'll be able to do all these activities. It's good to report that all the areas that I've mentioned, both Uganda, Monse, and even Sumatachela, we've already conducted a community survey. We have the report on the community survey. Now the next step is to carry out a full community engagement process in those areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. That's wonderful. That's fabulous information, and community engagement in Masaha was really a great success. You can tell that by how well our program has proceeded from the engagement. I just want to remind everybody actually that if you're looking to see if I can make sure I bring up the right screen here. If you're looking to find out more information about that particular community engagement, you can always go to our website. And if you go to our website and click on our news, which is where everything recent is, you scroll down and see all the most recent news stories. Masaha Community Engagement's right here at the bottom. And you can actually take your time and walk through the 3 days that Eric helped lead, and get all the details and all the information here. It's a really great story. It was our first full-scale community engagement, and it really taught us a lot, not just about the community, but about how to do this work. It's work that really resonates when we have conversations with other organizations that are doing complementary work or focusing on other technologies. They tell us that this is where they struggle the most, and in community engagement, in the long-term success of the technologies and the services that they have in their communities. So we like to think this is something that makes us a little different, maybe quite a lot different than a lot of organizations. We are building long-term relationships and we are really investing in our communities and community partners. So there we go. Oops. There we go. So I'd like to next invite Heather Avery. She's taking a big breath there as she's I convinced, and I begged her to come on and please and join us and speak and talk about the finance and the budget side, which I actually think is really interesting. If you really want to know the story of any kind of work that happens, just take a look at the budget, and that'll tell you what that organization does and whether it does it well or not. So Heather, I'm going to hand it over to you and go right ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Avery. I'm the finance manager, and a part of training all of our partners is also trying to help them succeed in keeping their businesses or their production successful. So, and as we all know, a large part of that is having a grip on your finances. So I will share some of the work that I have been doing and working with our partners overseas as well. So this is where we started a few months ago when we figured that we were going to have a budget for each individual program that we could also share with our partners that they would be able to use. And as you can see, this is very bulky. It has a lot of information on it and can be overwhelming. So this is where we started a few months ago. And then in working with our partners and just talking with them and figuring out their skill levels and figuring out what from our end can be modified to work well on their end and also be able to be clearly reported back to us. So this is where we are now. This is what our budget looks like now. As you can see, it's a lot less bulky and still has all of the information that we need for what they're doing over there, what they're spending their funds on. And we also are keeping track of their receipts, which is really important because we need to know to the penny what's being spent and how it's being spent, not only to just keep track of it, but also for our future programs so we can come up with cost sheets and have historical data for what our programs are going to cost us. So I have been working with all of this that I will be showing you is with our partner TCSC. This is their operations expense report here. And this is just their basic day-to-day running of their business information. We also have an expense report for the SOAP training that we've been talking about. So this is the money that we budgeted, obviously, and then what was actually spent. And as we can see, the numbers that we budgeted were not what was actually spent. So this is all part of the learning process for us, trying to find, include all of the different expenses that we may not catch the first time around. So, and we find that they aren't sure the first time around what they'll be spending exactly their funds on. So, so this is all a learning process for both ends. But this is getting us a lot closer to having a easily reportable sheet for them and for us. So that's what I have largely been working on. But during this process, what we have realized is that getting to know our partners and having conversations with them more often is very important because there are so many subtle, subtle little expenses that come up that are not part of necessarily our chart of accounts and our expenses on our end. One of the very recent expenses that we've discussed now is the meals. So during the old trainings, we weren't necessarily providing the meals. It was something that we kind of asked our partners overseas to provide as their kind of skin in the game partially. And it's not something that we always, if you were doing a project here, we wouldn't necessarily pay for everybody's meals every day. But what we found out recently is, and Eric has told us this many times, but it's not that it didn't sink in, but maybe it wasn't as clear to us, but meals is very important for their training, for their trainees to eat together is very important. It's where they spend their time bonding. It's where they learn how to trust each other. It's where they learn that they need to have each other's backs. And here that's not necessarily, that's more like a perk, right? If your boss buys you lunch, it's kind of a perk and it's nice, but it's not a necessary cost of a program here or of a project here. So, but there it's very important that they sit down and have a meal together. The different traditions that they have when meeting is a large part of how they learn how to work together well. So we're learning all of these new things by spending more time with our partners. I have a weekly meeting set up with Getry from TCSC and Ezra. And we go over the budgets. We talk about how their week has been. And I'm getting to know them just on a personal level, and we have a really good time, and we also get some work done. So it's been very nice. It's been very nice to have those weekly meetings. And like I said, I'm also learning so much about their culture and the way things work there that I would not have learned in the past. So yeah, so if anybody has any questions, I think that's it for me.
Thanks, Heather. Doug, do you have a question?
I do. I'm just curious how, since Heather's meeting, with her folks on a weekly basis, is it dealing with the time zone differences?
Well, most of the time they have to explain it to me. So we have a regular weekly meeting set up, but in the beginning, the first couple of meetings, I was trying to tell them what time they should meet with me, and I was an hour early. The one meeting we met, and Guthrie joined me, and she says, "I'm here, but you're an hour early." I was like, "Oh," and she said, "And remember, we don't have daylight savings here either." And I was like, "Gotcha." So, but they're, I think it's 10 hours. They're 10 hours ahead of us, so it's not too bad. It's just early morning for us and early evening for them.
India can be much more difficult.
Yes.
And New Zealand, I hardly want to talk about.
One of the things you're noticing here is that in the past, we typically would work with a single partner, and there would be maybe just a one-to-one contact with that partner in a community. And so if there was any kind of breakdown in that communication, or if the communication couldn't be verified, we were really at the mercy of that relationship. Now you have this multi-factor, multi-pronged communication going in. I have regular conversations. Heather has a weekly conversation. So we are all connected to our community, and that gives them the confidence that they have access to us. If they have concerns, they can come to us. They know who to talk to for what matter. It's a much more symbiotic relationship that we're having with our partners now. So I wanted to introduce Wayne Medred as our training manager. Wayne is going to be talking about sustainability plans. Wayne?
Thank you, Will. I'd like to just give a good shout out to Ledwin and Ajmat and Heather, our colleagues in the field. It's been a long time since I've spoken with any of you, so it's good to see you here. Our sustainability plan is the third step of our 5-step process, followed by the community survey, the community engagement process, and next comes the sustainability plan. It follows some of the UN 17 development goals set in 2015. It includes the challenge and the response in the introduction, which is basically, what's going on in the community, what are your challenges, and is our response to that. And all of those are laid out in the community survey, the community engagement. And the introduction gives the backgrounds and how locals choose to implement the technologies and in what order they would like to have them done. It also lists the objectives and what value the community expects to get out of each of the technologies. And that it also has the the training outline, what will be covered, who the trainers will be, if they're coming in from outside, or if they're, in the case of the liquid soap, it was Ezra who was already in the community through the Transforming Communities through Social Change. It lists the people that will be trained, what some of their qualifications are, little bios from each of the trainees oftentimes. And then we go into the production. Where will the subsequent production of this technology take place? Who will do that? What are their responsibilities? Who will market the product in the case of the soap? How the resources and materials will be acquired, what the inventory will look like, when do we reorder the inventory? And all these things are going into that plan for production. Who will be selling the product, and how will each of the production and marketing team be compensated? And oftentimes that isn't necessarily a monetary compensation. It can be praise, it can be a satisfaction that you're doing something good for the local community. And then there's the accounting that Heather just went through, and reporting, and who's doing that, whose responsibility is that, and where's the money kept, how is the money left over, the profits being reinvested in the community. And all of this is co-written with the local communities. We try to partner with at least one local nonprofit and the community members. If there's other organizations that are involved, such as Rotary, Quaker groups in the case of TCSC, or any other nonprofits, if we can provide a connection of 3 different organizations here, it gives us telemetry for communication. And this all shows that we've done due diligence with the investors, our donors' money, and that we are proceeding in a fashion that is most advantageous for that community. We are doing the sustainability plans for all 7 of our technologies. In the case of Matsaka Development Group, we have done the liquid soap. We've got the sustainability plan in place for the ISSB, the brick making, and we're currently working on the rainwater catchment tank training. And we're learning a lot of different things about the community. We're learning about the different challenges involved. We're discovering, how to source materials, where the production facilities are going to be, what government regulations are involved. In the case of the liquid soap, there's the Kenya Bureau of Standards that has a certification that we can put on this soap that will allow the soap to be introduced into schools and to other areas outside the county of Kakamega. Then we look for, is there licenses that we need to have for each one of these? We're finding out that we can't build rainwater catchments at schools in Kenya without a certification, which is going to require engineering. So all of these things are new to us, and it shows that we need to really put our ducks in a row and dot the I's and cross the T's to get all this done. And then we're also discovering, what is the labor force look like? How these production and marketing teams, when are they available? Is it planting season? Is it harvest season? Is it the rainy season? All these things affect how much time each of those people can contribute to our programs. And then we're learning about tribal norms and who we go to for approval to even be in the communities. So like Heather mentioned before, we're learning that the customs, we need to provide tea and snacks or people will not come back to to our meetings. And the meetings are so important for ongoing production of the work we do. And through all this, we gain a better understanding of the community and how we can help and ensure the success of our programs. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Wayne. Does anybody have any questions for Wayne? I actually wanted to give Wayne an opportunity to, so go ahead, Joanne.
I was just curious. I began to think of the breakdown of staff and volunteer expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you decide that? I mean, how much is done voluntarily and who's getting paid?
That's the responsibility of the community to tell us. And that's different in each instance.
How about on this side, the friendly water side? Are people getting paid to be able to supply this information and track these things, or is that all volunteer too?
Well, our staff, our programs manager, Eric in Kenya, is a paid staff. And we are providing a subsidy to TCSC, at least initially, to provide the facility for the liquid soap making and management overall.
Thank you.
I actually wanted to give Wayne an opportunity to talk through that, but I also wanted to show everyone that this is what the actual document looks like. This was our very first sustainability plan. It became clear to us through an evaluation of our work in the past how critical this plan having this plan is. A lot of our work in the past was simply training and then moving on, with not a lot of thought and not a lot of action given to the sustainability of that training and the following production of the resources. And so now there is a significant co-created document. This is a living document. This isn't a one-time thing that informs how each training for each program is going to move forward. So this is a really big new step for us.
I recommend, if anyone wants to read it, the section on reward and motivation, because sometimes you find that for certain parts of community, they're not looking for monetary rewards. They're looking for other kinds of rewards. And they told us that.
Okay. I'm going to take, we're right around 4:15 and our new board chair has joined us. I'm going to introduce Denny in a minute to say a few words. Before I do that, I was going to talk for a little longer than I'm going to talk about now, because I'm only going to talk about it for a couple of minutes, but about who we are and how that relates to how we talk about what we do. I mentioned at the start of our presentation the 5 bullets, and those bullets are something that we created some time ago. They are a digestible way for people to learn about our organization. I'm going to bring up, actually, let me see, make sure I bring up the right one here. Yes. Those bullets came out of a process of evaluation that I've mentioned before that has been going on and still currently going on, but certainly tailing towards the end. Now we're doing a lot of testing of things that we believe are the right way to go. I wrote an article, and you can find it on the website. Actually, the team put it together about the lessons we've learned from the last 10 years of doing our work. 2020 was our 10-year anniversary, and that's a great time to both celebrate and also to look back and determine, well, what's working, what's not working, what can we change, what should we do differently. Part of that evaluation was spurred on by COVID and coronavirus, and taking advantage of the opportunity in some of the ebbs in our work to take a good hard look at our projects in the past and how those were going to become programs. These 5 lessons are really key to everything that we're presenting today. The first one, our work starts and ends with community engagement. That presentation from Eric, we believe in investing long-term in the relationships with our communities. We believe those communities hold the keys already to their futures, their strengths, their abilities, their enthusiasm, their ambitions are all things that are critical to their success. Our work takes time and place, and what that means is that as Curt's mentioned, we're looking at relationships that last 3 to 5 years per program, and we're also centering ourselves in areas where the Kakamega Water Center to start in Kenya, and hopefully looking towards Manze as our second. And everything that happens after you deploy technology is at least as important as the technology itself. That's all about the sustainability plan. And finally, our greatest asset is our partners. And you saw them talking at the beginning of our presentation. Each of these 5 lessons have kind of come to life in the presentation today, and they really are defining how we move forward. The last thing I'm going to say on this topic, this is a new organization description that we are going to be sharing soon, along with a new vision and mission for the organization. We're wanting to change some of the language we use to describe what we're doing as what we're doing is changing. So you'll be seeing more on that. And the final thing I want to mention is all of this work is driven by our platform. And these are the elements of our platform, our technologies. We're a technology company and an organization in many ways, but we're also technology agnostic. So we will use whatever technology is best suited for that community. And if we don't have that technology or we don't have expertise in it, we will find the folks who can, or help the community find the folks who can. And this platform of clean water and water security and improved sanitation, consistent hygiene, sustainable food, safe cooking, and adequate shelter is something you'll be hearing us talk much more about. It's in line with as Wayne mentioned, the Sustainable Development Goals produced by the UN 5 years ago. And it's the reason for what we do. And actually, thinking about safe cooking and sustainable food, I believe Heather Cumming had something she wanted to say about food before I hand it over to Denny. Is she still here? Heather?
I'm here. I'm here. No, it was back to what Wayne was saying about something so simple like the tea break with the biscuits.
Yes.
And just what that means to people. Like I've seen like people leave meetings and things because there weren't a little package of 6 biscuits inside. Not because they were insulted, but because they can run on those biscuits. Like for me, it's like I could burn those things off in 20 minutes. But these people, like that might be the food that they get for the day. And yeah, I think David was talking too about the food is like the currency of African culture. It's the way you show love. It's the way that you give people energy, which they need more than money. And that it's just food is such a different thing in Africa than it is, I think, to us who haven't had to suffer for it the same way. So sorry, that was it. just agreeing and wanted to comment on it more.
No, it's great to hear your perspective, Heather, because you're right there and you live day to day. We really appreciate that. I would like to introduce Denny, our board member and finance committee chair and nominating committee chair. And I believe he's going to say a few words, hopefully.
Yes, thank you, Will. I've been with Friendly Water for a while, and it was David Albert who invited me to participate on the board. And I was nominated and approved to be a director on the board and have served in that capacity for a while, and now serve, as Will mentioned, on the finance committee as treasurer and also nominating committee. And it's my pleasure to introduce a situation here that is part of our evolution, if you will. David Albert has been the chair of our organization ever since its origin. And to him, we owe an awful lot of gratitude for bringing this organization into being and for moving it to the place to where we are now. And we recognize the importance of our continued evolution in providing the services that we really want to share within the greater community as we know it, our world. So to that end, part of that evolution involves how we deal with our own change within our organization. And we now have, only in the history of Friendly Water, our second chairman of the organization. And her name is Connie Vasek. And Connie is a scientist, emergency room physician, and researcher. And for the last 2 years, she's served as our first board vice chair. And then she's only the second board chair, as I mentioned now, and she is the first woman to lead our organization. Connie currently heads the technology and evaluation, which was formerly known as projects, and the executive committees. And she's been a supporter of the organization for more than 6 years and is dedicated to making the work we do the best it can be. She has been instrumental in the work that we've been doing involving the epidemiology. And so without any further delay, I'd like us all to welcome our new board chair, Connie Vasek.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Denny, for the introduction. I appreciate it. Anyway, but I do want to also just start with thanking and acknowledging the previous board chair, David Albert. And, you know, it's kind of through David's vision of bringing clean water into the hands of people that need it and his unending, endless work. He really created the organization, as you all know. And there's no way I can fill his shoes, but, you know, we'll do something. But as the organization's expanded, it's been clear that to do what we want to do, others will need to continue on carrying the torch and sharing the responsibility. And of course, this process started a couple of years ago when we brought in an executive director, Curt, and Curt has been doing a really good job revamping the organization and making it where we're going today. He's brought in the staff to fulfill the vision and mission. And I really want to thank the dedication and hard work that they have put into the organization. I want to thank my fellow board members for all of their contributions, and they need, you know, I hope that they will continue to work forward, continue their work with us. And I look forward to working with them. And an important part of the Friendly Water is, like you heard, the community partners. They're people who invite us into their villages, their homes. They share their time and their energy. They want to learn to sustainably produce new technologies. They want to choose resources which will make their lives better and healthier and look for a better future for themselves. And to do all this, obviously, we need a large volunteer base for time, talent, as well as donor money. So I hope everybody will continue to support Friendly Water as we go forward. I personally have been very fortunate in my life. I've had the benefit of living here in the United States, and I have the gift of 20 years of public education. And it was an opportunity, my education's an opportunity that I was given by other people. And some of them I don't know, never will meet, but I was able to, you know, given the opportunity to get the education and career that I have. And that's most of my reason for being involved with Friendly Water, is now that I have a chance, since people gave a lot to me so I can do well. Now it's my turn to turn around and try to give opportunities to other people. And I see that as an important part of my contribution. I think, as you know, with this pandemic starting, it's been a hard time for many organizations. And like many people, I think Friendly Water's taken the time to just reflect, to reevaluate, and just kind of reboot. To a lot of this you've been hearing in the weekly chats, then monthly chats that we'll put together about what we're looking at. We looked at all of our technologies and looked at how best to deploy them. There's been some changes, there's been some shifts, and we've had a lot of time to look into what works and what maybe doesn't work so much. Because, you know, it's really hard to change course once the train's going. So it was a nice way to just start and look at things again. But I also saw this as we're looking to move our programs out. I see this as a good time for the organization to develop the future leadership, to bring in different strengths, and to ensure that the organization will remain solid into the future. It will be very different without David at the helm. You'll all notice that, I'm sure, but it's really good that he'll be staying on the board to ensure continuity, and all of his work is so appreciated at Friendly Water. I really will need his experience and his guidance as we go forward. As you all heard, my background's in science and health, specifically my education my colleges in chemistry, and then before I went to medical school. And I think that'll help me learning to read what's out there in the literature, to read, research, evaluate, just the various technologies that we're involved with. Because I think it's part of our mission is to continuously improve our work. And we need to look at what the technologies mean before we really put them out there. So we will certainly rely on the local expertise and engagement to decide what technology and programs is best for their current situation, because everything's different. And we'll just use the resources and acceptance locally to help create solutions. Besides having the most appropriate technologies available to people in the field, I want to put energy into making sure that the time and money is well spent. We may not be in so many places as we were once, but I want to make sure that when we do start a program, it's a worthwhile investment. We're going to work on showing that. When we're going to decide as we look forward, what does success look like? What are we trying to accomplish here, and what measures can we make? And in order to do this, we'll need to evaluate our technologies and programs and figure out some sort of measures to go by. So that's what I see going forward. I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to continue with the work of Friendly Water in this new position. I hope we have the ongoing support of everyone, and I'll let the next person talk. If you have any questions, please talk to me.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Connie right now? Thank you for joining us, Connie. I know you had a busy day today, so I appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us. And we are, to a person, thrilled to have you. Your strengths and expertise are unique for the organization, and I'm sure we are going to rely on you in many kinds of ways. I'll echo your comments and Denny's about the dedicated leadership of David Albert, and he isn't going anywhere. No one talks about this organization better than David. No one is more enthusiastic about it more than David, and we rely on him for his continued passion and support. It really is such a key motivating source behind what we do. I'm going to hand it over to Curt in just a second for a couple of last words. I want to thank personally everyone for joining us today. As I said earlier, this is the start of a little fundraising push for us, so you're going to hear more from me about that. Please go to our website, and if you're able to give there, that's great. Or you can, as I mentioned earlier, you can text us 44-321 Friendly Water to 44-321, and I'll have that on our website as well if you prefer that. And you'll hear much more about the work we're doing over the next few months, and we're really excited about 2021. We think it's going to be an amazing year, and we're really looking forward to the new elements of our program that are going into place. And more than anything else, we're looking forward to working with our partners and communities, and hopefully watching them change their lives into something more and something better that they can plan for the future. So, Curt, I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, thanks, Will, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I think that we have one thing we were going to mention is we have a new type of chat that we're going to be rolling out here in the not too distant future called Between Two Friends. And the first one is going to have David Albert. We haven't figured out who the best person is for him to talk to that can go over the years and years that he's been involved with the organization. But that's our next upcoming event. Is going to be a new show, and the first episode is going to be with David, and the show is going to be called Between Two Friends. and we hope to have this going on for as long as we still have friends, so hopefully for a very long time. And I don't really want to reiterate anything that's been said, because I think everything has really been well covered. And I think the point of this whole meeting is to show that this is an organization of many people and many faces with many specializations and many gifts, and together we become something much more than we are as individuals. So thank you all very, very much for spending an hour and a half of your day with us, and I hope to do this again very, very soon. Thank you and stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.
David Fink, I think you had something to add.
Oh.
I just had a note in the chat to Curt that I have a 1-minute testimonial to what I think is an effective fundraiser, and that is the greeting cards. David Albert had sent me a dozen of them in the fall, and we used them to give gifts to all our cousins. Said, you guys don't need more junk. This is a good group. Stay in touch with them, get on the newsletter. And it's been a good rite of passage for our younger friends. They now know that this is what we're going to send in their name.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming today. You'll hear from us very soon. Have a wonderful weekend and take care of yourselves.